Welcome to another episode of the Unprofessional Parenting Podcast. My name is Matt.
And I'm Lainey.
And we are back with another episode for you today. Lainey, how you feeling?
Every week, Matt, I'm feeling great.
Yeah?
How are you feeling?
It could change from week to week. I'm feeling great as well. We have to have an opening shtick. Like, you ask the same question so people just know. Because if you ever say, I'm not doing great, or like, I'm just doing pretty good, then people will want to know and we'll discuss that, right?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It's part of the pod.
Okay, yeah, I feel good.
Part of the process. She feels good, not great. Good.
Okay.
We're good today. We actually are in a fun week right now because we are taking care of a newborn.
Baby!
Yes, we are. We are respite fostering for some of our friends who are on a trip right now.
Yep.
And we have a newborn. How old is this newborn?
I don't know. I think he's like a month old.
Okay, great.
I mean, I don't know.
Good specifics.
I don't know his exact birthday. I don't know. I'm not that mom that maybe when I have my own baby, I'll keep track. But like, I don't know. He's like 36 days old. I don't know.
Okay,
a month.
Well, it's definitely just so different for our home and for the energy in our house, right? Yeah. Because for our fostering journey so far, our kids who stepped into our home were either 5 or older.
Yep.
And so now a newborn is completely different ball game.
Oh, yeah.
So different, obviously. And so we're trying to work around, sleep schedules and feeding schedules, and our dogs feeling like they're left out because they don't get as much pets anymore.
I know.
Feel bad for our dogs. They just, they're not great right now, but they'll be fine.
My original
But we are taking care of this baby for a week, and he is a joy. He is great. And our friends are just awesome people.
This is honestly a great version of foster parenting.
This is one of the better versions of foster parenting, in my opinion.
I think so. Right now.
Why is it so great for you?
I mean, you get the joy of fostering. Because there's a joy here. No, I'm not. Hold on. I need to preface this. Hold on.
There's some scaffolding you have to build here before we get to that big point.
Please hear me.
Yep.
Respite foster care, as I know it to be, at least in the state of Florida, you cannot just decide to be a respite foster parent. That's not a thing.
No, you don't wake up one morning, you're like, you know what?
I just want to do respite. Yeah. That's not a thing. I don't want you, if you're not a licensed foster parent, but you're thinking about it, don't hear me saying, oh, I can just dip my big toe into the shallow end and call it fostering.
Yeah.
No.
That's not how it works.
Respite is a thing that we are providing as licensed foster parents who have an open bed in our home.
Yes.
That ideally is used for long-term placement, but there was a need for this little baby for a week.
Yes.
And so that's the need we're filling.
Yes.
You cannot go into fostering
thinking you're just going to do it
for a week.
Yeah. It may happen, but that's
you gotta earn your stripes here.
Yeah. You can't just you
gotta do the long-term difficult stuff first.
If you show up to any licensing agency or anything and you're like, hey, I'm thinking about doing weeks at a time, they'll laugh you out of the building.
That's not a thing.
I'm so sorry.
Well, and here's the reasons behind it. Children need long-term stability.
100%.
That's what they need.
100%,
so short-term fostering is just not a thing because children need long-term stability, and the system and that child needs to know this is where I'm going to be until I find permanency.
And so this child in our care for this week is getting long-term stability from the parents who are
the foster
currently
family
out of town who are our friends. And so we are able to step in because we have an open bed in our home and we live right up the street from them and we're friends. It was an easy thing for them to just say, hey, listen, we're leaving for a week. Can you watch the baby?
Yes.
And we're like, of course we could.
Right. Very right.
Plus you love babies.
Yeah. I mean,
probably more than I do.
How could you not?
Yeah, they take a lot.
He's so smushy and cute.
Yeah, he is. He's a little squiggly line. That's what I called him. Because he just squiggles so much.
So with that context, now we can go back into saying,
this is awesome.
This is the best version of foster parenting we've ever done.
Yeah, week at a time, sign us up, baby. Yeah. I'm good for that.
Yeah.
But that leads us to our point and our topic of today is burnout. Burnout. And it happens. I mean,
real.
The point at which foster parents and foster homes feel burnout might be different,
right,
of like the amount of time. But it's a real thing. It's a real thing. And we're going to tell a little bit about our story and about where we currently exist with our home being an open, licensed foster home, why we said yes to opening our home again for this year, and kind of the tension that we live in while wanting to promote foster care and love foster care and champion it, but also at the same time, feeling maybe a little bit burnt out.
Oh,
if
for
we're being
sure.
honest.
Oh, for sure.
If we're being like fully honest, right? And so our unique situation, our context, we'll go back over it if this is your first time. We started fostering 5 years ago. 2 girls moved into our home and they never left. We ended up adopting them out of foster care. It's not how it normally works, but it just so happened to work that way that time. Then we opened our home. In the process of adopting them, opened our home to a little boy who also never left our home.
Never left.
And so we went from a family of just us to a family of 5 pretty quickly in the matter of 5 years. And now we have 2 teenagers and almost a 10-year-old boy. And so we're trying to figure this stuff out. And that's why we launched a podcast called Unprofessional Parenting, because we're just sharing our stories and talking about what works and what doesn't work in our lives. But here we are, and when the year ends, you have an option to relicense your home. Now you have to go through hours of online training and things of that nature. You have to do home studies and stuff like that. And so we had a decision a few months ago whether or not we were going to continue opening our home. And it was a big I wouldn't say conflict, but there was tension because our hearts are for taking care of foster kids and loving children and giving them a safe place. But we just got to a place where we're like, man,
I was tired.
We're tired. Like, we are full-time parents. We have full-time jobs. We're running around the city full-time, getting our kids in different places.
I mean, physically, I was getting 8 hours of sleep a night.
Like, that was nice.
Physically, I felt fine.
Very nice,
mentally, emotionally, spiritually, drained.
Drained. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I think one of them is just the process of foster care, with all the people in and out of your house, the appointments, the things you have to do in the court system, and all the legalities that go along with it. And I know for you are super into that kind of stuff, whereas you just kind of fill me in on the back end. So thanks for that. But can you just talk about your exhaustion with that?
I mean, this is why respite is so fun for us right now, because the kids are the joy of this process.
100%.
Like, the kids are not what makes me tired.
Sometimes
actually.
Just be honest, please.
Actually, sometimes the kids do make me tired.
Yes.
But I will say, like, the drain of foster care for me has not really been the kids. It's the system.
It's the system.
It's the home visits. It's the advocacy. It's the fighting.
It's the unknown.
It's the unknown. And I will say, we have been validated by our licensing people through this process. We have had 2 really tough cases.
Very tough.
And sometimes I'm like, do they just tell me that so that we keep saying yes? But I do think some
sort of trick.
No, I do think we've just had 2 really tough cases that have required of us to be on guard for our kids' mental well-being, to hold really firm boundaries that were continually attempting to be crossed and demolished by people. We were having to advocate in the court system a lot. It was just like, these cases, when you have such complex trauma, like what some of these cases hold, you're inviting secondary trauma onto yourself. And so it was just really a traumatic season for us. And I think even more so for me, because I just have the personality. I am an empath, and I just take on other people's trauma and burdens so easily. So I mean, we went through a year where I wasn't sleeping. I was on psychotropic medication. I was deep into therapy because it was just so difficult on me. to get this case to permanency.
Right.
So coming out of coming out of that case, it just kind of happened right at the same time where our son's case was coming to a close, and then we were having to say, are we going to stay licensed for one more year? Because our licensure is just a year cycle. So we've got to you have to re-up it every year.
Right.
And so that was a conversation we were having of like, gosh, I'm really tired.
Can we go through this again?
Can you do it again? But this is, the decision we made was to stay open.
Yeah.
And I'll let you jump in on like why we stayed open.
We stayed open because I do think that, we talked to an episode previous to this one on our why. And I think our why just trumps all of our insecurities about the future and our thought process about our own incapabilities and things of that nature, and just our exhaustion.
Yeah.
And I think that we just came to a place where we talked it over, we prayed about it, and we're like, I don't think God's done with us in this world yet. It's tough.
This world being like the foster care world.
Yeah, not like he's going to take us from
He hasn't taken us out yet.
Who knows? We don't know. But I think that the response to the call was much greater than our exhaustion in fulfilling the call.
Yeah.
And I think we just wanted to continue to be obedient to what God was calling us to in the season of life.
Yeah.
And so we said yes, and we went through all the trainings, last minute cram sessions, home visits, and things of that nature to make sure that our home was open. And once that happens and you are approved and you are licensed for another year, the calls start coming in, right? And we've already received calls this year about long-term placements and things. But we are in a different place right now we are really evaluating very hard what we say yes to and what we say no to.
Yeah.
And I don't want our listeners or anybody who's thinking about foster care to think that a no can't be on the table. No is not failure. No is not disobedience. A no can happen and life can still go on as God planned it, right?
Yeah.
And that's why we talk so much about just your ability and your fuel tank to be able to do this calling, right?
Yeah. Well, because when you say no to the things that you know you cannot do, or things that just a placement that wouldn't fit with your family dynamic,
right.
You open yourself up to be able to say the correct yes in the future.
Yeah.
And I think that what I want people to hear, and the reason that I think really one of the reasons that we stayed licensed is because we have the freedom to say no as foster families. Right. And I think we kind of maybe give a false idea to foster parents at the beginning of this process when foster parents are being recruited and trained and initially licensed. We're asking them to say yes to a lot. That is my job.
Yes, yeah.
Is to try to find people to say yes to foster care and to keep saying yes to foster care. We say, put your yes on the table, just do it, do it.
Yeah.
And I think it instills this false mindset of like, I just have to do whatever I'm being asked to do.
Right.
And that's not true.
Yeah.
That's not true. You have the freedom in this system to say no. And I think that that's what we've really leaned into in this season of our foster parenting journey is saying no and just being really confident in saying no to a permanent placement right now, a long-term placement, because we know that just does not fit into the dynamic of our family and what we are mentally and emotionally capable of taking on right now. And that way we can say yes to things like doing respite for babies and doing, this is our third respite in the past month, I think, so.
And we've had babies in and out of our home and we've been able to care for them and love them and honestly provide space for foster parents who are saying yes to the long term to be able to continue on and we're able to support them by the new season that we've entered into and what we're saying yes to. So it's like what you said, your no can be a yes for somebody else, right? And even in the process process, this is the coolest thing, I think, and just our network of people that we know in the foster care system around, and our friends who are foster parents, and just the community that we have, is when we get a call and we talk about it and pray about it, and we say, ultimately, I don't think we can do this right now. We know so many people who are ready to say yes to those no's, right? And so we just point our licensing agency in the right direction.
I mean, we can talk about this placement specifically. Like this little baby, we initially got the long-term placement call for this little guy.
Yeah.
And we had already decided, like, we're not at a space right now where we can take a long-term placement. And so I told licensing, I was like, this ain't for us right now.
Right. Thank you.
But have you considered this family? Because I know that they really want a long-term placement of a baby.
And they're ready.
And they were ready. And so, licensing called them. Well, we've got, they're going on vacation. I don't know if we want to put a baby in their home right when they're late. And I said, great, we'll do respite. Yeah. So it's like we were able, because we said no, we were also able, with our support system and our network, to help this baby find a yes, and then support that family in their yes. Yeah. And this is just like a really cool place for us to be right now.
Oh yeah. I think it's a fulfilling of the call in and of itself, right? Is being part of the support system. Because a lot of people think of foster care and you're like, man, I have to open my home. I have to welcome trauma into my house. And there's so many different ways that you can support foster parents and the foster community around the city, right? You can do things that are not just opening your home. Yep. And so,
well, I'm thinking of other friends that we've had since we've been talking about doing respite for these little guys that have been coming into our home. We've had other friends who are not foster families that don't really want to become foster families, but they're like, wait, how do I do that? How do I do that? And now I'm sure every state is different. So I don't know if this applies to every single state, but in Florida, I just tell them, go find a foster family and become friends with them. Build a relationship with them.
Exactly.
And then under normalcy, you can babysit for them. Yeah. You can, go get a background check, and then you can be their respite provider. So you don't necessarily have to be a licensed foster family to provide respite for a foster family. But you do have to be in relationship with them and in their community and part of their normal support system for their family. So 100%. It's even cool to watch our other friends talking about this and being like, oh wait, I can do that. Well, go make friends with a foster family. Yeah. And support them.
We get to encourage them to do that. It's so cool. It's so cool. So our no's have turned into beautiful things that we've seen play out. And I just think about the little guy who's with us right now, and how much better of a situation he's in with the long-term placement that he has, rather than him being with us and us trying to do this running on empty, running on exhaustion, and giving him less than our best. And I know the family he's with is going to give him their best.
Oh, for sure.
So I'm just really thankful for that. Can we talk? You mentioned something a little while ago. Your job, like your profession right now, and the role that you currently serve in on staff at this organization, is to help recruit, support, and help other people put their yes on the table to say yes to foster care.
Right.
So how do you personally, here we go.
Yeah, boy.
How do you personally wrestle with the tension of knowing that this calling is an exhausting one, that it's going to deplete you? How do you wrestle with the tension and resolve that while having to recruit parents to say yes to step into something that is going to be possibly burdensome, possibly most likely exhausting, spiritually draining, all of those things? How do you reconcile that in your life? Or are you just setting these people up for failure and you're like, gotcha? I'm just kidding. That's not you.
Oh, man. I wasn't expecting you to ask me this question.
I'm so
because
sorry.
It is something that I have wrestled with for the past couple years. I've really felt it. And especially when I was in the deep, dark trenches of our last case, I had specific conversations with several people in the foster care world, directors of programs and organizations and things. And I asked that same question. I said, how do I keep doing this? Like, it is breaking me And how do I look at somebody else and go, come join me?
You can do it.
Come join me.
Right.
And
because you don't want to hide yourself. You also don't, you don't want to portray something that's not realistic.
No, and I don't want to, no, I don't want to sugarcoat anything, but you also don't want to like scare people away that God,
need foster parents.
Yeah, you don't want to scare people away that God is like genuinely calling you to do a difficult thing.
100%.
And I don't think I have a perfect answer for this because it is something I've been wrestling with for a couple years now. But all I know, the facts as I know them, are that God is going to ask you to do things that break you, period. And he's going to ask you to do things that are uncomfortable, and he's going to ask you to struggle. He does not promise peace and tranquility, like in all hold on. Yeah. I'm not phrasing that correctly. He does give you a peace that surpasses all understanding, but he doesn't promise comfort and
comfort's the word.
Just like perfection in these things.
Right.
What he does promise in his word is struggle and trials and suffering. And he is very clear that his power is made perfect in our weaknesses. And our weaknesses and our brokenness, and when we are in the depths of despair saying, I cannot go another minute longer, that's when he says, perfect.
Yeah.
That's exactly where I need you to be.
His grace is sufficient.
Because his grace is sufficient, because he's going to show up. And that is where his power and his faithfulness can be exemplified,
right,
is when we are in those places. And so I do think that it is such a God-honoring thing to be in those places for him, for his mission, for his calling, to win souls to Christ. Because that's where his power is made perfect.
Yeah. No.
And so that is the thing that has just been getting me through is like, hey, I cannot promise you that this is going to be easy because it's not. I cannot promise that this is going to feel good because a lot of times it's not. And it's probably going to take you to the absolute depths of yourself and to the end of yourself. But that's what God is telling you to do. And therefore you need to be faithful in doing it, because there are miracles on the other side of your experience in that.
Yep. And your reliance on him is the key thing, right?
Yeah. And there's kids that need you to do it. There are families that need you to do it.
They're waiting for you to do it.
They're waiting for you to do it.
So it's this delicate balance of being open and honest and upfront at the get-go of like, listen, this is going to be a struggle.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
I don't want to cast foster care in just the most negative light of all time.
No.
It is a very beautiful thing. There is so much joy that happens. There's so much good that comes in the experience of foster care. We're not running on empty all the time.
No,
but there are those times where you're just like, oh man, I'm struggling. So it's that balance of saying and being truthful up front with, this is going to stretch you.
Yep.
This is going to bring you to the breaking point. But there is so much good at that breaking point, right?
Yes.
There's so much surrender that can happen. There's so much trust that can happen, and reliance on a strength that is not yours.
Nope.
That comes from something else, something greater, who's just waiting for you to step into that untapped potential of reliance on him, right?
Yep.
And so it's that balance of saying those things, but also reminding them of the call, reminding them of what comes in those moments of you're empty. And also, I think maybe a thing that you didn't touch on is the fact that there are so many people in this area, in our community, who are there for us, providing this net of just love and community and grace and prayer that we would never have been able to, we would have been broken years and years and years ago had it not been for them, right?
Yep.
And so there's a reliance on people, there's a reliance on the Lord, but there's also just this underlying foundation of like, this is what God has called us to do. This is our why. And again, our why far outweighs our circumstance and our exhaustion.
Yeah. You've got to find your community. You've got to find your social support system.
Yeah.
That has been huge in us being able to face burnout, to recognize burnout. I think that's really important too. Recognize when you're getting burned out, and say something about it, do something about it. And it's also been nice to lean on our support systems in those moments and them to encourage us and be rejuvenated. And I would say if you're kind of wondering, where is this community? Yeah, like, how do I find this community? Join a church. Please join a church. And even if you're not a religious, but you're like, religion's not for me, whatever. I just don't know where else you find community that is going to like pray for you and intercede for you and support you outside of a church community. I just don't know where people find it. And I would also say, if you are part of a church, because we have met foster parents who have told us recently, I'm the only foster parent I know in my church. First of all,
that's crazy.
Woo, that's crazy. Really crazy.
They've been fostering for years and years and years and years.
Yeah. That's a whole nother thing. I'm really sad that is even a fact. But if you find yourself in that position, you're like, I'm the only foster family or foster parent I know in my church community. I would encourage you, go to your church leadership and let them know that and be like, hi, this is a problem. I think
there might be something here.
Yeah. Like, let me encourage you to step into my world, invite church leadership and invite your church into your world. Yeah. And then I would also say, that's why we started this podcast. That's why we started this whole thing of unprofessional parenting, because we want to be that community for other foster families. Our unprofessional parenting community in and of itself is a support system. Right. And I hope that you find that here. I hope you find encouragement here. I hope that just through our conversations, you're like, oh man, somebody else gets it and has been there.
And we are the face. We're inside that, right? Like, so if you need something, reach out. Like, shoot us a direct message on Instagram or something like that. We're here to pray, to love on you, to encourage you, to give you whatever we can in those things. And so we just want to let you know, burnout does happen. It can happen. It will happen.
I would say it's almost inevitable in this system.
And just know that there's beauty in saying no. It's not failure.
Right.
It can be something good. Yeah. And so if you're at that point and you're just feeling like, man, I want to be able to say no here, but I feel like I'm neglecting this calling. I feel like I'm being disobedient. There's the permission there to evaluate where you are at in your life, to see, can I give myself to this calling wholeheartedly in spirit and truth, and do this to the best of my abilities that God's called me to. Yeah.
Even the greatest of soldiers don't stay on the front lines forever. Yeah. Like, they don't fight. There are reasons that tours of duty don't last for infinity. Yeah. They have time frames because you have to take steps back sometimes, rejuvenate yourself before you can get back out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're here for you. And if you're listening, this is your very first time, or you've been listening for a while, we just want to say thank you for watching. We'll catch you with our next episode of the Unprofessional Parenting Podcast. My name is Matt.
And I'm Lainey.
And we'll catch you next time. Just want to remind you, if you need anything, comment, DM, we'll be here for you.